So, good evening guys. This is a video about smaller sensors and noise troubles. So when we shoot with things like the RX10 Mark IV, which has got a 1-inch sensor, at higher ISOs it can cause us a little bit of grief. Grain being one of them, and also detail and everything like that. I'm going to do two videos about this. One is in daytime like this. So if you're trying to capture birds in flight and things like that, and you need to capture the bird by freezing it in the air, you need to have a very fast shutter speed, which means your lens needs to be pretty much wide open. So in our case, 600mm equivalent f4, and the light in this day, yesterday, was very patchy. So you had big clouds and then big breaks as well. So you had 1 minute it will be bright sunshine and beautiful light, really nice, and then next minute it will be really quite dull because this huge black cloud was blocking the sunlight out. So it was interesting. So for pretty much the first time I used auto ISO, and I set it between 100 and 6400 ISO to give me a good bit of overlap as such. And this picture here is actually, as you can see up here in the top right, ISO 3200. We're at 600mm equivalent, sorry, f4, and 1/6400th of a second. We've got, obviously, in Photoshop, which I use. I don't know if everybody else uses Lightroom or Photoshop, very similar. There's other programs out there that you can utilise if you're doing editing at all, but I know this program extremely well. You know, I know all the sliders and everything like that. I know where they are and everything. If we go to detail, we've now got the new noise reduction, like a denoise AI. So it's a little bit like Topaz denoise AI, and it will help sharpen up the image and soften the bits that need to be softened. So we've got sharpening set at 60, radius at 1, detail at 25. I mean, I probably could crank it up a little bit more, but I won't. And we just click denoise, and we'll get a before and after view, so you can kind of see what's what. So that is how, when you zoomed in up, I don't know, really close, but if you push it, it's quite a bit different. So we're going to click enhance. And to be honest, I never expect this to be perfect, because at the end of the day, we're shooting on a tiny little sensor with a single shot. Remember, it's not a mobile phone shot. So with the smaller mobile phone sensors, they're taking 10 to 20 images and literally sticking them over, using AI technology to remove extra replications of whatever's in the image that may be moving, and you'll end up with a shot that looks pretty nice and tidy. So this picture here, that is the grainy one. Let's go in a bit closer so we can see the swallow there. As you can see, it's actually a relatively sharp image on the swallow itself. It's just grainy in the background, and obviously we are now zoomed in quite heavily, so the pixels have got bigger, which makes the grain look more obvious to the eye. And then we've got this one, which is the enhanced version, which I think is about alright. There we go. As you can see, it's quite a bit cleaner, and definitely clean enough to be using as an image. But obviously that is the whole image there. So, you know, unless we're cropping in heavily and keeping the image like that, but in the real world, hopefully we would take a photo and try and use as much of the image as possible as the image, rather than doing a huge cropping like that, which is fine for Instagram, stuff like that. For printing, I probably wouldn't. But if we can get closer and have the swallow, you know, 10 times bigger in the picture, it would have been, you know, really, really good. But it just shows you that it's now looking very good on Photoshop and Lightroom. I click open, and we have the image there to mess around with. So that's one shot, and I was quite impressed by it, actually. If you use Photoshop, it's 10 quid a month. I pay £10 a month, and I'm very fortunate that you guys watch enough of my videos that most of my costs are paid for by the ad money. So pretty much for me, Photoshop, Premiere Pro and everything like that don't cost me anything. So, you know, I'm very appreciative for you guys for watching. But it's worth. I think it's worth £10 a month anyway. For Photoshop on its own, it is a fantastic program. Yeah, I know people know other things and like other programs. There are free ones out there and everything, but I've used this for 20 odd years, and once you know something, it's very difficult to change and learn something new, especially if it's very different, which a lot of programs are. So obviously, that's what they are going for, isn't it? But anyway, so not a bad picture. Let's open another one. Let's see what else we've got. What was these ones? Not sure how good that one is. What's the... Yeah. There we go. So we have a dandelion. So this is actually shot at ISO 2500. So the ISO is a little bit lower. So this will probably clean up quite nicely. But ISO 2500, still at 600mm equivalent, which is 220mm if you're a full frame. But 600 millimeters equivalent. And basically I'm stood back from it, down in the grass, shooting through the grass to get that image. And we're still at 1/6400th of a second. So exposure wise, it's not bad. It's gone a bit dark. I actually prefer it slightly duller in colour, but I always check the auto. I click auto just to see what it's like. We can mess around with that afterwards if need be. And denoise again. As you can see there, it's quite a bit, and that's only at 24%. We can go more. Its native or default setting was 50, and I've reduced it down because I think it's too much. But let's try 40 and see how that looks. But this is a fantastic feature they've added now. Finally updated it. Caught up with the competition and such. There we go. I mean, that looks tidy as anything, and that's shot at ISO 2500. That's very nice. So I'll be very pleased with that shot as a print, full image size. Even cropping in to see the detail, it's all there, and it's definitely made a difference. So let's do one more just to show you guys. What have we got here? 1250. That's actually, we've got somewhere some ducks that were flying past, and I took a snapshot as they went past the fence, and I just about caught them just in time. There we go. Absolute terrible shot, and probably not quite in focus. But I tell you what, the RX10 ignored the fence line and went for the ducks, which was actually quite cool. So if we click auto, it's definitely made a difference just by looking at the colours and everything. Obviously, I'm sat on a chair that was a bit wonky anyway. I was just sitting around waiting for the swallows to come back out. They seem to have this burst of like hunting, and then they disappear for a bit. So I don't know if they're eating themselves or just resting, or if they're back at the nest, and then they suddenly appear again, or if it gets too cool and the bugs aren't flying. That was one of my thoughts. So they kind of disappear. But anyway, that's click denoise, and we're at 40, remember, on this one. So enhance, and then we'll see what happens. And it takes a few seconds to do it, which is quite amazing. I mean, it's usable compared to the original, which was quite grainy, to be fair. Yeah, I mean, it's soft, it's smoother in the background for sure, so it does make a difference. And remember, we are shooting at ISO 3200 there. So just to show you, it really doesn't matter so much now. This is right. You take so many pictures over a day that actually some of them are just crap, and you do weed out the best ones. Anyway, here's a swallow again. So I'm going to crank up the sharpness a little bit on this one, just because I don't think it's quite. Yeah, it's on its wing. Hasn't gone for the head. So its sharp area is on the wing here, which is fine. We know that nothing's perfect. We'll leave it at 40 again, and we'll see how neat and tidy this gets, because it's quite. I mean, we're still at, it's ISO 1600. So it's dropped down a little bit more. But just to kind of put it out there, don't worry too much. I mean, ignore the fact that the swallow's face is out of focus, but actually the image itself now is much cleaner. Look at that. Much cleaner, which is awesome. So that's made an image that's kind of usable. I mean, it's not perfect. Pardon me. And it doesn't actually look too bad. So basically, the programs out there now, especially Topaz, Denoise, AI, and obviously Photoshop, and other programs out there as well that are really good, just prove that, you know, even something like the RX10 Mark IV can give us images with a little bit of help that are mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing how good. I mean, these are cropped in now, these guys. How good and how clean the images are. This is in daytime though, remember. So the next video is going to be in low light. So I'm going to try that out and see if there's any real disadvantage with it. Can we still get some really good images in low light with higher ISOs? We shall see. But I thought this might be a little bit interesting for people, especially depending on what programs you might be using, or if you thought about getting Photoshop and you maybe don't know if you want to spend the 10 quid a month or whatever. For me, it's part of the daily routine. I use it daily, so it's one of those things. But it's up to you if you want to go that route, or there's other freebies out there. You can buy Topaz AI, Denoise AI, as a one-off payment. So it's up to you which way you want to go, really. And you can put a plug-in onto Photoshop as well. But if you've got Photoshop, you don't really need it now with this. So I don't know. It's blown my mind how clean a shot you can actually bring these to now. So even shooting it up to ISO 3200 with ease, the photos are coming out very nicely. So that's very good to know, especially in sort of rubbish light, a dull rubbish day as such, or heavily changing light on a good sunny day with heavy clouds. That sort of thing is a bit of a game changer. So like I said, next video, low light, sunsetty, low light, bringing out the stars and things like that. We shall see how that does. Let me know what you think below. What do you use? Do you already use Topaz, for example, or do you use Photoshop, or what do you use? Let me know below. And this is not just for the 1-inch sensor off the RX10. It could be for mobile phone pictures if you really need to. It could be for even the Sony A1 or the Nikons or the Canons out there. It works on all of them. So if you do have to push your sensor limits on the ISO and you need a little bit of assistance with it, these are here to help you now. So they're really good tools and part of the box of tools and toys that we've got to help our pictures look even better. So it's just a balance of getting that level is too much. Do I need to do 20%, 30%, 40%? I would never go over 50. I think 50 was really pushing it anyway. I think 40 was okay. 25 seemed to work really well in certain situations. So you adjust it depending on how much noise you had in the first place. So if you were shooting at ISO 3200, you might go 40. If you're only shooting at ISO 1000, you might go 20. So just take that into consideration a little bit. Other than that, guys, don't forget to click the subscribe button, little notification bell as well. If you want to see anything in particular, want me to do anything, let me know, and I shall help. If you've got any questions as well, let me know, and I can always give you a hand if I can. Okay, take care, bye.